Alright, Jared Randall here with some more news from not so far north. And yeah, so it's the day after. The day after, got a big download yesterday. Go listen to my message from yesterday. And it was about a serious wave of darkness wanting to creep up, and really, what I find is, and I found this since about May of 2023, when some things were shown to me, is that when we look at that darkness, our vision is light. Our vision is light because we are in for lack of a better term, we're in a positive polarity. We're in the positive polarity version of this universe. There is a negative polarity version. In the positive polarity version of this universe, light wins, gravity wins, love wins. Light, gravity, and love, same thing. Different aspects of the same thing. Same organizing principle that ultimately rules. And this is why there is karma, why there is dharma, because karma is the effect that must happen from the action that has been taken. That's all karma is. It is the effect that must happen. And the thing about karma is there are also counter effects to effects that can change the effects of that karma. And this is how we get to a more dharmic life. We learn how to counteract the karma, and we don't experience the karma. We don't go through the karma because we start obeying universal law. And at the basis of universal law, it's gravity. Gravity is love. Gravity is what produces light in this universe. It pulls enough stuff together, and that stuff kindles a flame, and that flame goes forth as light. Okay, and there's science there. That's not the full science. There's all kinds of quantum effects scientists have learned in the past, I don't know how many years, where if quantum effects were not happening, there would be no stars. So this is at a lot of different layers of reality in this universe. And in any case, getting a little off track, science lessons. Not really. I'm not a scientist, but I know. I follow these things, and in any case, we turned a page yesterday and overnight into today. We turned a page on something that could have cropped up quite quickly and unexpectedly, and it frankly would have been a big win for darkness, for dark entities that feed off of our fear and worry. And again, it doesn't matter. I haven't even looked if a single person has watched the message that I uploaded yesterday, and it doesn't matter because of the way the internet works. And how it works is the internet reads itself, and this is why there is a new consciousness forming on this planet, a new layer of consciousness that does have to do with the digital computer revolution. And it's not something, there are human beings on the planet thinking that they're in control of it, that they're producing artificial intelligence, and they are doing things, but there's already a layer of intelligence there, a layer of awareness there. Okay? And so, yeah, just by putting out a video yesterday, by looking at the thing, by looking at the possibility, that I did see in the darkness, I did see in the shadows, just by looking at it. And this is also one thing that scrying is good for. Scrying can be good for seeing possibilities in the fifth dimension and all the possibilities that are streaming towards us. The thing is, these things are only possible, and I know this is probably vague and abstract at this point, but go listen to yesterday's video and I think it will become clear. I didn't make a prediction yesterday, but I did give a reading of what I saw coming down the pipe in reality, when there was some very heavy, dense, dark energies yesterday. I mean, it was just, friends that I know who are sensitive to energies were feeling it as well. It was extreme, and when I probed it, I got a very clear picture of what was lying there, what was potential. And by looking at it, we shed light on it. Our vision is light, okay? When we look into the shadows, we almost pull the shadow into the light, right? And what we then find is that there's not so much fear and to worry about there. And that was the message of yesterday, really. It was not about making a dark prediction of some horrible thing that was definitely going to happen. Therefore, follow me because I'm making the predictions that you need to hear. Otherwise, you're not going to know the fearful thing that's coming down the road to you. La 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 la. And this is how apocalypticism works, right? This is how apocalypticism works. The apocalypticism is a way of looking at reality. It's a philosophical position, really, which takes as its starting point that the world is ending and you need to see it coming, otherwise you won't be prepared, right? And so essentially what happened yesterday is I looked into apocalypticism, and I looked into the apocalyptic moment, and saw what was there. And the end effect is it doesn't have to be what's there. And today, waking up, there are signs. I got signs right away that we had turned the page on that, at least for this timeline that I am in right now, and that I'm speaking from. There are certainly potential other versions of me that split off from this timeline where that is not the case. But that's the version of me that you're listening to. Did not want that. Did not want that. Did not want to experience that. And I assume that, I'm talking to people who the same. And we did dream work last night. I slept long and hard. I slept early. It was we do a lot. We do a lot of work in our dream state. Those of us who are light workers, energy workers, and so it's actually important to sleep. It's important. I mean, there are times where I literally feel myself I feel my guide saying it's time to sleep. You need to sleep right now because there's something you need to deal with. There's something you need to work on in that dream state where you can be fully in the astral, fully in other dimensions, and do that work. So, okay, so that's what's happening. That's what has gone on. It's not to say that what cropped up yesterday is going to be a theme. And it's so if you're interested in sort of doing work, frankly opposing it, because it is an extreme negative polarity wave, if you will, a time wave that's trying to sweep over the Earth plane. And single one of them is a universe. Every single one of them is tuned to its spot where it is rooted. And also, human beings are trees. Okay? Human beings are trees, which means human beings are universes. Okay? And so, be tuning yourselves. Look for the light. Look for love and peace to flourish. All right, so, and just adding on a little bit here to the message that was coming in earlier this morning. And so there's a couple things coming in. And, you know, one thing is about the speed of things manifesting on the earth plane. And we have to understand that it takes time. And the overall rule of thumb that I've been given is it takes 7 years. It takes 7 years. And so that's something that we need to understand. And folks who are working with energy, or working to manifest, not just for yourselves, but for the world, okay? We're aiming for something bigger than just, me and my, my little interests, okay? That's the kind of collective that I'm talking to, okay? And that's not to say that it's wrong or bad for folks to be working on, essentially self-improvement and improvement of your own life. But when we go through a time where, again, there's a lot of outcry about, this is the world that I live in. I didn't realize that this was the world that I live in, basically, because, say, an election result doesn't match what you were hoping for, and so on. And it's sort of this wake-up call of like, this is the world that I live in. And then this can lead us in a couple different directions, right? It can lead us into a sort of woe is me, right? Like, boo-hoo, I live in this world, and I'm just going to go, over here and pout, or I'm going to get together with these other people who are upset and be upset, into sort of misery loves company. And then the next 4 years, misery is going to love company, and hopefully, this doesn't turn into a dictatorship. And I'm not saying that some of these things are true. These are true concerns, but it's about the attitude around it, right? It's about what we're expecting to have happen, about what we're then manifesting for the next 4 years, okay? If that's what you're manifesting for the next 4 years, well, guess what's going to happen in another 7 years? It's going to be even more of that. At some point, we have to wake up, grow up, and realize that it takes hard work, and it takes learning to work with the energies in a consistent way for a longer period of time, to not get so thrown off, okay, by things like an election cycle, by who's this or that leader at the moment, and to then be working toward, okay, in 7 years, what do we want the world to look like? Well, then we need to envision that now. We need to start putting that into practice now. We need to start refusing anything that doesn't look like that world now, because it's going to take 7 years to bring that world about, to bring something more like that world about, okay? And the more we consistently do that, well, things can pick up steam and pick up speed, and then we're rolling along. Eventually, we can get to a place where we're rolling along. This back and forth of, everything's fine because I'm okay with the leader, and so I'm going to completely ignore it and, only worry about my own things. And then, wrong leader, now the world's going to hell in a handbasket. All of a sudden, well, no, everything that's going on right now, an election that just took place and the results of it, all this stuff is set up in the past, okay? In our past, in the past of this timeline that we're on, things don't happen immediately on the earth plane, okay? And I know there's a lot of folks out there in spiritual communities who talk about instant manifestation and yada yada. Well, sometimes, and in some ways, and with some things. But other things are deeply rooted, and it takes time. It takes effort. And especially it takes working with energies, and it takes working with spirit. It takes working with your own energies and learning to be open to that, to working with your own energy centers and doing your own self-work. And so, especially the collective I'm talking to, you've been doing that, and you're ready for something more. You are ready to bring in a new world, a different world than the one we're seeing right at this moment, that is manifesting right now. And you're not liking it, or maybe you think that, yeah, exactly what I wanted is coming to pass. Well, guess what? In the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to understand it's not. It's not. Okay? In the next 2 or 3 years, mark my words, if you're happy with what just happened in terms of the election in the United States, you're not going to be in about 2 or 3 years. It's going to take a while for it to dawn on you. It's not going to be good. And at that point in time, you're going to have already been manifesting, oh, everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. Well, it's not. Okay? So, but there's a balance here. Okay? And there's a balance between fast and slow. Okay? It's steady as she goes. It's steady as she goes. It's going to take time. And this gets back to learning about what is really behind the Temperance card in tarot, okay? A good place to start here. Work with the tarot on your own. I highly recommend this. Start understanding the major arcana. Start seeing which major arcana turn up for you, because that's going to give you a pretty good idea of what you're working on. Okay, as you get along the major arcana, you come to the Temperance card. And sometimes this gets talked about in terms of the balance between fire energy and water energy. And this often gets talked about as like anger on the one hand and, water and emotion on the other hand. And I don't really read it that way exactly. If there's a duality to it, it's more air and water energy for me. The fire is in each. The fire is related to each. The fire comes down. That is spirit. Question is, how are we going to navigate the water? How are we going to navigate the air? And also, how are we going to navigate the speed of things and what's really coming through strongly today? Is how are we going to navigate the future we want to see, that we can close our eyes and we can see it and we can dream it, and then the reality of the moment we're in, right? Because we can get lost in looking at the past. We can get lost at dreaming of the future at the expense of the now moment. And the thing that we need to be working on is the ability to do both now moment work and then also work in time, the past and the future, the 4D, the 5D. The 4D is a sense of our past. The 4D is a sense of time that has passed, timelines that have passed, and where those timelines are leading us. Those are already set in place, and we have to understand them. We can't just ignore those, okay? We got to understand where we're at, what timeline we're on, what we've already grounded into place, what things matter about that timeline. If we're going to work with the energies, bring the fire down, work with the air and the water. And the air can make the fire burn hot and fast and burn things out, or there can be too little air. The water can douse everything, right? Can douse the fire, put the fire out. But also, the water needs a certain amount of fire, right? It needs a certain amount of warmth, right? We need to cook a little bit. We need to boil a little bit sometimes. There's different relationships here between all these energies. The air and the water need to work together. Sometimes we need a storm. Sometimes we're looking for the storm to calm down, and we're looking for cool waters, calm waters. There's different moments, and we need to understand what is needed in the moment. Okay? And it's not just always this or that. It's about being sensitive in the moment, and then being able to understand and being open to spirit talking. Okay, what in the past matters about this now moment? What possible futures? That's the fifth dimension. What possible futures are we possibly bringing into place? And then we're sorting that. We're deciding that. We're thinking about, okay, which one are we aiming for? Which one's most possible based on what's already been grounded into place? Understanding the past, our personal past, the past of the people around us, means we need to talk, we need to listen. We need to understand our society. We need to understand cultural past. There's all kinds of things here going on. And the collective that I'm talking to is a rare breed where you're equipped to do some of this work. You've already been building on, these capacities. And I'm not saying there's going to be a ton of you, and it doesn't need to be, right? But that's what I'm looking for. Those are the people I'm looking to work with, and we're doing it. We're already doing it. And again, we're doing it, a lot of our work in the dream state, but also there's important work to be done in the waking state, right? So I'm going to leave this here and just really encourage us all. Again, fear and worry is the main battle. And learning to have a pulse, a finger on the pulse of the now moment, and we can dip into the past, we can dip into future timelines, but we need to stay connected to the now moment, and that's where we feel fear and worry, and that's where we start to bring in what we don't want to see. Okay, if we get too connected to a possible future that's a negative polarity future that we don't want to draw in, but we get connected to it, right? We get set on it, we get our mind on it, and that's all we're pulling in. That's really the danger overall right now, right? That's the danger right now. And so the heart-mind connection is really important, to be centered in your heart-mind, okay? There's a certain connection here. Where the energy needs to be flowing, the ability to not just see with the eye, the third eye, not just see with the heart. The ability to see with the heart in the first place is really important. If you don't have that, if your heart space, if your heart chakra is not opened up to where you can see with it, you can hear with it, right? It's really important. Our ears are important. Our ears are very connected to the third eye, okay? And then what's in between that? Well, our throat chakra, our mouth, and there's some importance there too, right? An ability to know when to talk, when to speak, when to not, what to say, how to say it, knowing our own voice, finding our own voice. All these things are really important. This energy needs to be able to flow, right? It needs to be able to flow, not be stopped up. If it's stopped up, or if it's just garbage out one way or the other, all of it's coming from up here, all of it's coming from down here, and especially we have to be careful with our heart, because sometimes from lower down things can just be coming up and spewing up. We get the fear space, right? Down deeper in our gut, that's where fear and worry can really take root, and then that's all that's coming up and out, and then that can be, that can drag the third eye down. It can drag our whole heart mind down. So tuning the energies, all this is really important. And so find ways to be out in unbuilt spaces, be around trees. Trees are excellent right now. That if I could say one thing to leave this message, in a place where what I recommend, be out in spaces that are not built, be out amongst the trees, pay attention to the season and how the season is passing, whichever hemisphere you're in. There's changes going on right now in the weather and the seasons. Be in touch with that. Be in touch with the critters out in the unbuilt spaces. Be open to them. Learn to see them. Learn to acknowledge them. They're going to start teaching you. They're going to start speaking to you. The trees are going to start teaching you and speaking to you. And all this is going to connect you more with Gaia and with what's the overall energy of what's going on. There's something really big going on, and it's really super positive, and we can totally miss it if we get caught up in the fear and worry. All right, gonna leave it there. Much love, peace, and all the light you can stand, sending it your way right now.